Hey, this is Jeff again with the Valhalla Ventures, ReGuideService.com, ReiguideService.com. Want to do a real quick video. I have a different crappy dry erase board that I own. This one is for writing out times on laps whenever I do my motorcycle racing. What that is called is bullshit. What I just said is bullshit. I don't race motorcycles. I do enjoy riding motorcycles, but I don't race motorcycles. But in a very short amount of time, I can convey something with small, crappy evidence that I am, in fact, a motorcycle racing guy. I got a little dry erase board. Come on. Why would I say it? Why would I have it? And that's kind of the point of today's video. Today's video's point is that there's a lot of people that are full of that. And it's not always necessarily a negative intent on the person's part. You know, people have been told fake it till you make it. People have been given the idea that they know more than they know. I mean, if you have a bunch of books and classes that it says like the definitive, all you need to know guide to being a real estate investor, and you bought that book and you read it, why would you in any way, shape, or form not believe that you had all the definitive information that you needed to know to be a real estate investor? There'd be no evidence to support that claim until you got into the real world and started shopping around, right? And so a couple of things happen to people, right? They either they either start out with this small amount of knowledge, which I've talked about before, you know, the circle of knowledge, the things that you have. And they start out with that, and then, you know, they go and try to do a deal that's outside of their little circle because they really don't have that much knowledge, and then the real world experience is completely outside of that. But then they go ahead and they try to do this deal, and it fails, and they learn, you know, a little bit, and then next time they try to do a different deal, and it eventually failing encompasses that. So even failures are expanding that circle of knowledge into this. But a lot of people think, well, look, I read the book, right? I was told that if I get a text program, or, you know, that I mass email people or send out letters through the United States Postal Service or whatever it is that they're trying to do, right? Like put out bandit signs. They were told that this is all that they needed. But there's so many elements and so many pieces, right? And the thing that's unfortunate in my mind is that if we were to split this board into all of the pieces that are involved in real estate, and you said, okay, so this is bird dog, right? That's the person at the very beginning trying to find, just driving around, and then the next would be wholesale, right? And then the next would be investor. Then this would be lender, right? And this could be inspector. And you just break all of this down into all of the different pieces. And it could fill up the bigger, crappier board that I have fairly quickly. I mean, there's just, because you can break these things down. Because even the bird dog, you know, that's going and looking for properties, well, is there a service that's servicing that bird dog? Well, what about one of these apps, right? There's apps that are providing information to these bird dogs, okay? There's services that are providing like mailing lists for these people. And those same ones are servicing this, and they're servicing this, and, you know, these same lists are also servicing multiple. So this just becomes exponentially bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's why when I say it's impossible to know everything about real estate, it really is impossible to know everything about real estate, because you can have a little tiny piece of knowledge in any of these areas, but that doesn't make you one of those things in that area. And unfortunately, all too often people call themselves these things and claim to be these things, not out of malice, but because they're faking it until they make it. And if you spend all of your time trying to figure out who's real and who's fake, and you're going to spend that your entire life trying to just do that, you're not going to be spending any time actually making any money, making any profit, making any kind of legacy. But what you can do is you can find one of these nuggets of things that you do know a little bit about within one of these, many categories. Call that a niche, right? You get a niche. You find your thing within one of these niches. You create opportunity. I mean, look, somewhere along here is staging houses, right? Like they're in the real estate business. Staging houses is in the real estate business, and it's all part of this. Okay, so finding your niche, your whatever, is important because that's where you start. Okay, and you slowly expand into having little nuggets of knowledge into all of these different categories, because you'll find that some of these things you'll do yourself. Some of these things you'll find people that are way better at it and you trust them and you just would rather hand them off because you know that it saves you the almighty time, right? That's my clocks. They're very badly done. The important thing to know, though, is that you cannot ever build real relationships or gain real knowledge in these areas and expand your circle if you're faking it until you're making it. The best policy is honesty, to tell people, hey, I don't really know what I'm doing. But then you still have to do all of the work to make sure that whenever you're sending out your scope of work, SCOPE, scope of work, right? That someone that writes out a scope of work, that's a whole job, that's a whole task, that's a whole duty, right? That's something that has to be done when you're flipping houses. Someone has to write out the scope of work. Now, you can say, well, I get a GC to do that. Well, GC is another part of this. That's completely different because the GC, it doesn't create scope of work because you're going to tell the GC what you need done, and then they might create a scope of work based upon that, but then you're giving power and control over to that person. So you're going from investor, who's supposed to have power over the scope of work and what it is done and deciding, and you're just handing that fully over to him. Whereas if you had someone specifically to do this, or if you knew specifically how to do this, you could control and retain power. The more you know about these little tiny areas, it's definitely better. But the thing that will help you get started is to pick your niche, to pick your thing and expand your circle of knowledge, become an expert at it. And then other people within this circle, within this variant will go, hey, this guy's actually a mover and shaker. He's just not selling me and pitching me and trying to bullshit me. This guy's actually doing it. This lady's actually doing it. Let's work with that person because that person is doing what I want to be doing. That person's doing what I am doing. That's the way to be successful. It's not by BSing people. It's not by trying to tell everybody you're a racer of motorcycles. Okay? So do what you need to do to figure out where you are on this and figure out the thing that you're passionate about and the thing you're going to be good at, the thing you're going to get the most successes at. Because at the end of the day, you want this to be fun, right? Like this is supposed to be an exciting opportunity for you to make a big difference in not only your life, but not only your family's life, your community, the people that you're selling properties to or leasing properties to. You can affect a huge swath of the population of humanity in this business, be it done right, be it done wrong. And the most important thing is that you do it right, because it adds longevity, less stress, which is going to give you more longevity in your actual life. Not just that, but get out there so that you can do it for your family, do it for the community, and make sure that you really like what it is that you're doing and you don't like the idea of it. Figure out all the stuff that you can. Do a little bit of research into these categories. Just don't make an assumption. It's just like making the assumption that you can't do multifamily, but you're all right with doing single family. Whereas they're all the same information. The numbers are much bigger, but the rewards are much bigger. Do they take longer to do? Yeah, but the rewards are much bigger. You could do 10 single family homes in a year and not make as much money as doing one apartment complex in a year. So sure, you're only doing one apartment complex a year, but you're also making the same amount of profit as someone that's having to hustle for 10. And 10 deals is a lot of deals to have to hustle through. That's a lot of trades to deal with, a lot of lenders to deal with. That's a lot of, real estate agents to deal with. That's a lot of everybody. So it's just a matter of perspective, and make sure that you're not just following the perspective that's being fed to you, but that you're making your own decisions. You're critically thinking about the moves that you're making and the investments of time in what it is that you're trying to learn about and the sources that you're learning about it from. Anyway, be blessed. Bless others. ReGuideService.com, ReiguideService.